In the UK, card-only payments in shops, no cash. What's going on? Whoa, we're in a storm, we're in a car, it's windy and rainy, so apologise for the noise in advance. Let's get straight into today's video because we're talking about shops here in Britain which are refusing to use cash altogether. How bad is it? How easy is it to get hold of cash here in the UK? Let's find out, shall we? The rain is loving it. Right, listen to this. Card processing fees, they range from 1.5%, that's rare, up to 6% of the total transaction costs. Yes, it's true. So as a retailer, guess what? You're going to have to pass on that cost, aren't you? It's crazy because at the end of the day, business is business and they are there to make money. So listen to this. Since 2020, many retailers switched to card-only transactions due to being safer. Sinister? Yes, safer. We don't want to spread a deadly illness on a banknote, do we? No, of course we don't. And lots of us all know what really happened in 2020. Okay, let's move on. Listen to this. There's a pub in Essex called the Checkers Pub. Now, guess what? They have been cash only, yes, no card, zero card, for 37 plus years. Well done to the Checkers Pub in Essex for making a stand, because we do need to protect the use of cash at all costs. We'll get into that as we go through the video, so stay tuned, okay? And obviously the guy who owns the pub says he will hold out as long as he possibly can. That's quote, okay? Another one, Martin's Bakery in St Austell, down in Cornwall. They have paid £2,300 in 1 year for transaction fees for card payments. They are now putting signs up saying, please use cash as much as possible. So yes, this is what I said earlier. Every single time that someone uses their card to tap a payment, or even worse, if you're crazy enough to use your phone to pay for something, guess what? Whoever shop it is, or whatever store it is, they have a card reader. They have to pay a subscription-based fee just to be able to use that card reader. Every month they've got to pay for that. And they take a percentage from all transactions. So much so that that bakery alone, £2,300 they had to pay just to use card payments. So it makes sense, especially in crazy economic times that we are in, to use cash, because all of that money goes straight to that business. Nothing's taken out. So it's quite ironic, really, when we're talking about bakery and bread, now taken out. Anyway, let's move on. Last year, for the first time, cash transactions rose in 10 years. Since the cost of living crisis, more people than ever have been using cash because they can budget easier. So yes, guess what? Last year was the first time in 10 years that the use of cash actually went up. So the message is getting out there. People are wising up. I use cash as much as humanly possible. As a rough guess, I would say 90% of the time. So it just goes to show you can make a difference. Vote with your cash. So listen to this. The company called UK Finance Research found half of all payments in the UK were made with using debit cards last year. The volume of cash payments rose from £6 billion to £6.4 billion. That was back in 2021. So there is an obvious trend of people waking up, believing that cash is king and are using it more than ever before. People aren't stupid, they're realising. Now, listen to this. Some of the shops here in the UK are refusing cash point blank. Now, it's entirely up to you if you choose to boycott those premises or those shops. It's probably for the greater good. Now, not all of these shops and stores, which I'm going to mention, are completely cash free. Some of them, not many of them, you can still pay cash, but they're actively encouraging card use, not cash. So, IKEA. Next, EE, Vodafone, O2, Prezzo's, Starbucks, Burger King, Pizza Hut, Itzu, Cote Brazier, Nando's, Cafe Nero, Greg's. Ugh. So yes, we're basically looking at corporations rather than independent businesses. I've always said, as much as I have done since 2012, boycott big businesses, support local independent businesses with cash. That's what I do, and that is my message. I'm encouraging people to, if they haven't done it, just give it a try, see how they get on. Now, looking at the data, it does appear that the younger generation, millennials, if you understand what I'm saying, prefer to use their phone to pay with. Fundamental implications and flaws using that. Who's ever heard of data theft, hacking? Yes, crazy. 1.5 million people here in the UK have no bank accounts, so they predominantly survive with cash-only mindsets. So 1.5 million people. That could be higher or lower. That's just a figure which I've found looking through the data analytics of what's going on here in the UK with cash versus card payments. So 1.5 million people here in the UK that have no bank accounts. So who would you think that fits into that category? Off the top of my head, the first thing I thought of was travellers or something like that. People who live outside the system and they rely on cash and cash only. Let me know what you think in the comments. 1.5 million people who don't have bank accounts. What sort of people would they be? Okay, so if we all go cashless, then card reader companies will raise fees because they have the monopoly. Absolutely. I think that's pretty much what is going to happen. If we do get to the dreadful scenario where there is no more cash ever here in the UK, just imagine those companies that offer those transaction facilities like a card reader and stuff like that. Absolutely, they're going to raise their fees. And then guess what? No one wins. And the businesses lose out. The only businesses who are going to survive a big hit like that are the huge, big corporations. And some of them I mentioned earlier who have already gone cashless, which is disgusting, really, to be honest. We've spoken about this before. Cash points, they're shutting down everywhere. Now, I have done a video on this a while back, and it's interesting to see some new figures and stuff coming into the fore since I released that video, maybe 6 months ago now. So we're talking April to June 2023, so this year, 3.5% of the UK population lived further than 2 kilometres from a bank, building society, post office and cash point. Yes, 3.5%. That is quite a lot of people here in the UK who live further away than 2 kilometres from all of those facilities. We read on. From 2012 to 2022, so a whole 10 years, a whole decade, 40% of banks, building societies fell. 40%, that's nearly half of all of the banks and building societies have gone here in the United Kingdom in 10 years. That's astonishing. Let that sink in. Do you remember growing up as a kid and seeing all of these banks on the high street, etc.? Yet nearly half of them, that's rather a lot, all gone. That's it. Finito, Jack. They're gone. And guess what? They have said that 250 banks will close just this year. So how many has closed so far up until now? I don't know. But they are saying 250 will definitely close this year. Unbelievable. March 2022. Guess what? There were 11,635 post offices. People are thinking, why are you talking about post offices? What's that got to do with cashless shops, etc.? Well, now here it is. You can go to any post office and withdraw cash from your own bank account. Did you know that? Maybe you do. Many people probably won't, but that's an absolute thing, okay? I do that myself. The nearest place that I can get cash is my local post office, and by doing that you're supporting your local community as well, because it's nice to sort of buy something with cash from that store and post office. It all helps them, okay, because anyone small and independent will be struggling as we go through this Cost of living crisis. Why do they dream up these funny terms? Do you remember the credit crunch? Oh, the credit crunch. It sounds like a bloody chocolate bar back in 2008. So, yes, we have got more to cover. So, check this out. Since the early 1980s, post offices have almost halved. So, it's pretty much on par with the banks, but closing at a much slower rate. But nonetheless, they're closing. So, half of all of the post offices, and there are lots here in the UK, has halved since the 1980s. Wow. Yes. How many people were affected in that? How many people have lost their jobs because they used to work in the post office? It all has a knock-on effect. At the end of the day, my main message is cash is king. We need to use it as much as we possibly can, okay? Even if it means going to the petrol station and walking into the kiosk, giving them cash, rather than do the silly control thing and tap your card and put your PIN number in and all of that nonsense. Use cash if you can, okay? So listen to this. In the next 5 years, 1 in 5 cash points have gone for good. Wow. In the last 5 years, 1 in 5 cash points are gone, and they're gone for good. Apparently, it's really difficult to reinstall or reinstate a cash point where they used to be. They're usually bricked up. They have to connect to electricity. They have to find a way to connect it to the internet and all that sort of stuff. It's a nightmare. So once they're gone, they're not really keen on putting them back. So if you have seen a cash point near you close, the chances of it going back there are very, very slim. So apparently 51,000 cash points are left in the UK, which are free to use. We'll get onto that in a sec. Now, if I remember, I'm going to put a link below this video and it will give you locations of all of the cash points here in the UK. It doesn't matter if you're going on holiday, you're going somewhere different where you don't know where they are. It might even be in the town or the city where you live. How are you going to know if there's a cash point there? If you haven't been there for a week, guess what? That cash point could have gone in that time. This little website will tell you where they are and if they're still open. So it's a good idea to know where cash points are. What about crypto ATMs? Who's heard of that? Cryptocurrency in ATMs? Apparently there's some ones that are out there which are not approved by the FSC, and they're trying to get them shut down because of scamming and fraud and all of that sort of thing. Crypto, no idea. Let me know what you think about that in the comments too. Now, apparently Cashback. Who has used Cashback before? I've used it maybe 2 or 3 times. I don't really use it because I always tend to get cash at the cash point or the post office. So apparently cash point, the maximum limit is £100. I was led to believe it's 50. So let me know what you know. If you do cashback and how much it is. Does it depend what shops you go to? So yeah, apparently, so that cashback maximum £100 for free facility is available from 2,000 shops here in the UK. Now, there was a link to this article taking you to, showing you where those 2,000 shops were, but when I clicked onto it, it went into something else. It was a BS link. So sorry about that for not supplying it, but if you do find a link, stick it in the comments, that'd be cool. Over 3,000 cash points have protected status and are guaranteed to remain free to use. That's another thing. How many times have you been to a cash point only to find out that they're going to take 5% or whatever out of the transaction for themselves? It should be free. How greedy is that? And you usually only see these transaction fee applies on cash points in poorer, failing towns, etc. So again, let me know. It'd be interesting for all of us to read together the comment section about what you're thinking about what I'm saying here. So 39,429 free cash points are in the UK. That was at the end of 2022. So getting cash is a bit of a nightmare. So let's go back to what we started talking about. Who's heard of Amazon Fresh? Anybody? Some of you may be aware of this already. What about Tesco Shop and Go? Now, these two particular types of stores, you're only allowed to go in there if you download the app, the QR code. Remember what happened in 2020 with the QR code? Sinister. Absolutely, yes. The only way you can get into that shop is you download the app, you update it, you scan the QR code when you go in, and all it does, especially the Tesco one, is very weird. You get like a carrier bag, whatever you put in there, it gets automatically weighed, and you know what you've bought. How crazy is that? and you just put your cub card on or whatever it is, and it's all automatically done. That's scary. I mean, how many people have relied on technology only to find that it's failed them and it's left them in stuck? Can you imagine that? Imagine the system going down. It goes offline for whatever reason. It gets hacked, or there's a power cut. Guess what? That shop is absolutely useless. Whereas the old school shop, they would still open, they would light some candles, and people would still use cash and get change from petty cash and the float, and you can still do it that way. You see how crazy this is, where it's all going? The more we are going towards digital, electricity, and modern stuff, the less reliable it is. And we need a system that's reliable, and cash has been going for frigging thousands of years. Why? Because it's frigging reliable, okay? Now, another thing, there's going to be links below as well about all of that, which it's be worth watching. They're only a couple of minutes long. Crazy, those sort of shops with there's no people in there, and it's all done by apps and scanning things. Sinister as hell. And they're full up with cameras and all that, so there's loads of privacy evasion. It's nonsense. What about Windsor? You know, where the royal family play around in London? Guess what? They've got one cash point. Just one. And they've got one bank. That's all there is. And guess how many people live in Windsor? 30,000 people. That sounds ridiculous. And I think next year we're going to be seeing the King's head on the back of banknotes. How weird is it where the King likes to play around in that castle in the same town? Guess what? There's only one cash point. Bit sinister, isn't it? Finally, a little story. This happened to me. I went to a place when I was on a bit of a break recently, and went in to buy some drinks, a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, that sort of thing. And I had no idea it was card only. And guess what? When I went to the till, there was no one around, and when I looked down, there was a tiny little slate with a chalk writing on it saying card only. And I went, oh wow, here we go, here's going to have some fun. So before anyone turned up, I opened my wallet, I got my debit card, I hid it out the way, closed it up, and when they come, I said, oh, how much is it we're sitting over there? And it was like £6 or £7, something like that. So I got a £10 note out, and oh, sorry, we don't do cash. I said, well, you're going to have to, because that's all I've got. And she looked really flummoxed. She got the manager over. She was from Lithuania or somewhere, I don't know where. So the broken English, it was all a bit embarrassing on their part, because I was born here in the UK and I've always used cash, and that's the way I'm going to continue to do so as long as I possibly can. At the end of the day, what happened there was a customer who was having a pint stood next to me, just come over because they heard what I was saying. And what he said was, I'll give you some change if you want, mate. So I got a £10 note. He gave me 10 £1 coins, and I gave them £7 coins, included a little tip. Okay? And I'll give it to them, and walked off. And it was up to them what they wanted to do at that point. In my opinion, I've paid for a service, I've paid for a product, and that was it. In my eyes, cash is legal tender. There's loads of debate saying yes it is, no it isn't. But at the end of the day, if you go to shops here in the UK and they won't refuse cash, do what you can to give them cash. If they still say no, leave it all there. But the important thing to remember is say to them, I'm going to use my money at another business. I'm going to support someone else. And I won't be coming back here. And I'm going to tell other people not to come here. So it's your business. Do what you feel you need to. But it's not right refusing cash. Let me know what you guys think about what I've been talking about in the comment section. If you want to, please send me an email. That link is below this video. If you can hit the thumbs up, subscribe, notification bells, it's all good. And if you can share the video, fantastic. WhatsApp, Facebook, Telegram, the usual thing. The more that these videos get shared, the more people get to watch them and put their comments. Everyone is free to type whatever they want in the comment section. But please have respect, because that's a nice thing. You guys take care. Thanks for watching, and stay funky.